Thank you very much, and welcome to Chicago, everyone. So one of the most important things in security right now is the human element. Every single person in this room is a human, I hope, except for the presenter earlier. Well, if you are a humanoid, please put your hand up right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. The initial conversation that we have in security is it's fast-paced, it's evolving, the threat is evolving, everything is changing at a pace that we can't keep up. That's the number one thing that we are basically, is being embedded and ingrained into our mind. And the faster that we're able to respond to these threats, the faster we're going to be able to solve the problems. But one of the ways that we're looking to solve this is through more innovation, more technology, and putting it in place really quickly. But the sophistication of the threat isn't as complicated as somewhat we're making it seem to be. The drone that's going to come out and attack us and take over our entire facilities isn't that military-grade one that's being made in underground facilities somewhere. It could be that $5 one from Five Below. And that's the one that's taking us by surprise. Because that technology doesn't have to be very, very difficult, very, very complicated. And again, it doesn't cost a bad actor any time to be able to capture that. But to load that up and be able to come out and cause havoc, it's very simple for them. Anyone can gain access to it. And teen takeovers were mentioned yesterday at one of our speakers. And think about this concept really quickly. The bad actors aren't the teenagers that might be coming in, but they could be someone embedded into that ecosystem that came in through it. Similarly, if it's a giant perimeter that's been set up to keep the bad actors out, to protect critical infrastructure, data center, but a 2x4 that you can pick up at the hardware store can solve it and breach it in seconds, even someone like me with no exercise and no muscle mass can go ahead and break in. And every kid can now drive or fly a drone. The other aspect comes down to the QR code. Like some 15 years ago, the QR code was the biggest thing since sliced bread, and everyone was wanting to get one. You can get a QR code to go order your food at the restaurant. You can also scan a QR code to gain access into a building. Great, and all they have to do is mimic that QR code, put another one up there, and problem solved. So your threat matrix isn't a bad actor with a PhD in bad acting. It's someone who can go ahead and make a print. It's someone who knows that they can go to Five Below and pick up a drone and start creating havoc. But as those things continue to build, and you know how that works in your ecosystems and the facilities you're protecting and the people you're protecting. But there's an element to how you're addressing it that's a little bit flawed. More analytics, more cameras, more AI, more advancements before the human element has been taken into consideration. And that's going to be a problem, but we'll get to it. But there's two moves you can make in the chessboard right off the bat. Amplify and collaborate. You amplify the current state of your security posture and your team's capabilities, meaning you take the best of what they already know, good communication, great person and making AI twins. Whatever they're good at, you amplify it. But you have to learn what that ecosystem is for them. So you can make them more capable of taking what's going to come next and advancing it or addressing it. The collaboration part comes into play because there's gaps. There's going to be gaps. There's certain things that I'm not good at that I need to collaborate to fill that gap. That void can't be filled just by artificial intelligence. But actual intelligence is needed to be able to make that move. But when you're collaborating and you're working within the ecosystems, and as mentioned in the panel before us, the different departments that need to even come into play to be able to make decisions and give you the better information. That collaboration is going to start solving some of your problems when you have both of those ecosystems tied together. Amplify what is already working and what exists in place. Do not replace it first. You have to work with the current state. Collaborate to fill the gaps, but you have to know what the gaps are. So the flow is fairly simple. There's innovation, And innovation isn't just technology, it's also innovation in our thinking, in our capabilities, in our continuing education. All of that has to come into play. The workflow, which is my favorite place to play, is because this is where you design how things happen. Not for the software, but for the human. What happens when an alert goes off? What happens when A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Fill in the blank. If you don't know where the handoff is, you don't know where the relay torch is supposed to pass from one person to the next, communication gaps lead to problems in action. You can't take action if the workflow is flawed. You can't innovate if you don't even know where you started from. Case in point, how many of you heard about the driving terrorist attack at New Orleans, was it last year? New Year's Eve. The amount of conversations around Ballards was immense. Isam, can we test this? This technology says it could solve it. My technology, even LinkedIn, just LinkedIn space alone, was telling us that you can solve it with a new Ballard. But it was a communication and workflow problem. Public Works removed something because it was supposed to. Team 2 never replaced it because it wasn't ready yet or it wasn't in their ticket yet. Special Events planned an event. Police came out and did their part to secure the event. But the workflow failed because the human element wasn't considered. The people weren't communicating, the conversations never happened, the handoff never happened. Bad actors saw an opportunity. They did not find a new way to cut the Ballard and disable it. They drove through and it didn't exist. So, simple principle for us to consider. And I mean this with all my heart because it's real, right? Bam, the alert goes off. Another alert goes off. Lights are flickering. The alarms are going off. And at the end of the day, you're like, wait, everyone's moving. The law enforcement agents, the security officer, the director, everyone's in a panic because something's about to go down or is already going down. But it turns out to be a Doritos bag and a kid holding the bag. That human element, right away, and the media is specialized in one way, right? Hey, law enforcement came up with a heavy tactic and they could have hurt a kid. True. But why did that law enforcement agent come in stressed out, thinking there was a threat at the school? Right? That handoff and that innovation and that connection, no one was trained on trying to get that model back to the human. But if I'm thinking I'm coming to a school that could have had a prom, could have had a dance, could have had something going on, and there is a shooter there, I'm not going to walk there with flowers and bubble gum. I'm going to be ready for action. The kid with the Doritos bag isn't ready for any action. He was just trying to get some Doritos and wait for his ride. So the entire human element failed because it could have led to real tragedy. But that's how analytics, AI, can fail us if we don't connect the dots. We want to be able to see clearly. We want to be able to respond faster. But we also want to make sure the decisions are being made with actionable and actual intelligence. And that's how you start to connect the dots between these two innovations, people and technology. The physical aspect of our current state tells us that I can delay if I put the right barrier in. If there is no barrier, someone just walks right in. Well, they're already in the building. They're already creating havoc. They can walk out before law enforcement or security takes place. All the alerts without the barrier in play in the middle, it's too late. The other way around, have a barrier but no alerts. Well, cool barrier, I'm going to go ahead and cut through that, walk through it, climb over it, do whatever I want. By the time you find out that I've done the damage, it's too late. So we want to make sure that both the physical and the digital are actually combined, and that technology works today. There's layered technology stack that you can put up, like if you had the Breakfast Club earlier with all the chat bots. Do the same for your physical security. Make sure your digital and your physical are interconnected, not disconnected. But in between, you have to have the handoff to the person because the alert is still being taken by someone and the action still needs to be taken by someone. They still need to be trained on how to take that stressor. Right? Experiencing someone getting cut in the arm and the first aid responders that are in the company come out and they see all the gushing blood and they all of a sudden panic and freeze. They got trained, but they'd never experienced it before. So that handoff becomes more and more critical to not leave, especially in safety and in security. This way, when we detect a problem coming before it reaches the actual attack point. We create a little bit of a delay to buy us some time to make our response, but then our response is actionable and ready to go. The right person at the right space is going with all the intelligence that they need, that I am walking into something that's a risk, that I do need to be prepared for this. Or it's a kid with a Dorito bag. Relax. They don't know that. They won't know how to put that in. But at the end of the day, all it comes down to is that word that I want you to remember out of this presentation is workflow, workflow, workflow. Make sure the human is in the workflow. Make sure the people that are at the desk, at the front desk, are part of the workflow. Your security officer was never meant to be your receptionist, but they are the receptionist. You go ahead and see LinkedIn for 5 minutes and see a sleeping security guard, and people will be saying, that's the state of security today. That's not the state of security. It's the information you've been providing them and alerting them with was probably making them fall asleep in the first place. So finish that as best as you can. The payoff is you're going to have a lot less alarms that are nuisance or confusing or you can't do anything with. The guard is getting the information quickly, but they know what to do when that information comes in. This alert means I look here. This notification means I go here. But they have that flow embedded in them with better training. Now I can respond faster, and of course, the magic sauce is I can lower cost. Nobody in operations is going to stand in our way to get a budget approved because this works. The secret, though, with all of this is that human element aspect is you're also keeping your guards, your officers, yourselves even, away from that mental exhaustion of dealing with all these threats. And if you solve them all and you never saw the day of light, it's going to be silent. No one's going to hear about it. No one's going to see about it. You did your job. That means there was silence. You didn't do your job. You're all over CNN. That is when you win, but that's really hard stress to take. So keep in mind, going back into the workflow, tie it in with the agentic, tie it in with the AI, respond faster because you know that the AI is there. It can quickly help you make that response. It can quickly help you ascertain that there is something you need to be paying attention to. But that's the layer of it. AI cannot go out there and stop the bad actor themselves. They're not making the tackle. They're not making the stop. They're not picking up the person who was hurt and helping the victim. The guards, the people, you are doing all of that. Thank you.